Welcome back to Obsolete Automotive. I'm Austin, and today's video is going to be on my recently acquired 1964 Dodge Town Wagon. How did I end up with this thing? Well, I got it really quick actually, and basically one of my good friends in Oregon told me he was coming to Pennsylvania to pick up a car he bought and he was going to have an empty trailer. And was there anything that I wanted from the West Coast here? Well, I didn't have anything particular that I was needing, but naturally I had to look. And I inquired about a couple vehicles, and people just don't want to sell their cars. I don't know what the deal is, but like you'll message people, they won't reply. You'll ask for information or phone numbers, they won't give them to you. I don't know. People just don't want to sell their cars. It don't make any sense. But this thing popped up in Washington State, and I'd always kind of wanted one of these. And it wasn't a four-wheel drive. I was kind of holding out to try to find a four-wheel drive version, but this thing kind of checked all the other boxes anyway. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity to get something brought to me for a very reasonable pricing. So I had the deal done, and my friend picked it up, and he brought it all the way here to North Carolina for me. Now this is a Dodge Town Wagon. Now they started this body style in 1954, and they made this all the way up until 1966 in the US. And even though this is a 64, it still uses the 50s sheet metal. So the main basic body is essentially the same as the 54 model. And then the front clip is a 59 clip. And I will note that 59 and up has a longer wheelbase, so the fenders and things are longer than like 58 and back, but this is a late 50s front end basically, and they kept using it up until 66, even though they had already come out with the swept line pickup with the updated body and other things. This model, as well as the Town Panel, which was the windowless version, was basically still a 50s vehicle. So it's kind of neat, another oddball MoPar thing. But yeah, so that's how I ended up with it. It was probably a record-setting deal. Like I've never bought something so quick, had it picked up and delivered to me so fast. This all happened within a few days, and now it's here in North Carolina. It needs some work. The previous owner did some things, which I'll get into here in the video. But you'll notice it has a star on the side. You're probably wondering, is this a military vehicle? I don't think so. I think the previous owner added the stars, but I think this probably was some kind of fleet vehicle, because if you look really closely, you almost can see here in the paint, there used to be a circle here. So maybe like there was like a county seal, some other, parks or rec department or what have you, some kind of official vehicle. So it might have been like a county vehicle or a city vehicle or something like that. Now the Army did use these just as like, not as war-going vehicles or anything, but they did have these as vehicles to transport troops, because you could have 2 seats in the back. So you could seat, I believe, 8 people. So 3 in the front, 2 in the middle, and 3 in the very back. They had 2 seat configurations where you could have 2 rows or 1 row, and that determined what size seats you had. This thing does pretty much have looks like the original paint. So it's this dark green color, which this could have very easily been some kind of, like I said, state vehicle or county vehicle, which probably it was, going by what appears to have been some kind of seal on the side of the doors. And it also used to have a roof rack or something mounted on top. There's bolts in the roof. Whatever it was, they've removed a long time ago. So it could have easily been some kind of fleet vehicle. And I'll go into some other details about it, and you can see that this thing had some special order equipment. There's a tag on the driver's door jamb that shows that stuff. Let's talk about some of the features of this vehicle. Now these things were built to haul people or haul supplies and cargo. So you got these big doors in the back. It makes it easy to load things in. Now, the previous owner replaced the flooring with a solid sheet of plywood. Originally, it would have had strips of wood in here, but this still works. And inside, you could have had 2 rows of seats, like I said, or it could have just been open like this as well. It was all optional. And like I said, there was a town panel version that had no side glass. So let's kind of look in the back here and see what's going on. There's a lot of space in here. A lot of windows. These windows are missing the original handles and seals, and I'm guessing maybe the previous owner made these handles here so you could still open the windows. But we have slider windows in the back, and there's 4 of those. So if anybody has a parts truck, I would really like to find the original handles. You can see them here and here, and there were lock knobs. You can see one still remains here, and that's so you could keep the windows from being slid open so you wouldn't have anybody stealing anything. I'd like to find all that hardware, so if somebody has it, please let me know, because I would like to get it. The wood was added by the previous owner. I believe originally this would have had like a vinyl, I guess you still call them panels here, interior panels here, and the headliner was I believe a card headliner, similar to a lot of like 50s MoPar wagons, 60s wagons. He added a headliner of sorts, a camo tarp, which I guess is better than nothing. I'm not sure what he's done under here, but I'll eventually want to redo this to look more appropriate. This came with a bunch of random parts here. You'll note the seats are not original. So that's another thing I'd like to look for, is an original front seat, which was a split seat, and this side would move forward so you could get into the back through the passenger door. I believe he said these seats were out of like a Mercedes van or something like that. They surprisingly fit in here very well, and they aren't uncomfortable, but they aren't correct. And I'd like to find the correct seats. For those that are wondering, there's the gas fill. And that's kind of how you can tell the difference between the shorter wheelbase model, 59 and up, that has the longer wheelbase. The gas fill is in the back. 58 and back, the gas fill is over here on the side. We do have our refrigerator style door handles. I said the wood is not original, but was made by the previous owner. The seats, they aren't too bad. Like they don't really look too terrible. I just like to have original stuff. Plus, if I have the correct seat, I can seat 3 people in the front versus the 2. Now, as far as instrumentation, speedometer, we got our fuel gauge and amp gauge here, which are original, but we do have some aftermarket gauges here for, there would have originally, I think, been an oil pressure warning light, and the original temp gauge they obviously would have matched. So I'll probably, if I don't use the original ones, I believe the original ones are in the box of parts here that were included with the truck. If I don't end up using the original gauges for whatever reason, maybe there's something wrong with them, I will at least try to get some gauges that are a little more appropriate looking. These are a little too modern for my tastes. The truck has a new gas tank. I'm not sure what it came out of. I have read online that people use 57 Chevy gas tanks, and they bolt basically right up to these town wagons. So it has a different gauge, gas gauge here. I'm guessing because the ohms are probably different, because it probably is the Chevrolet tank if it is a brand new one, because I don't think they reproduce these tanks for these trucks. And then, of course, otherwise, why wouldn't you just use the original gauge? So that's something. If nothing else, I would maybe move this gauge up here. Maybe try to find one that's a little more era correct looking. But yeah, so here's our headlight switch. 1 click for park, 2 clicks for headlights. Something was here. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not very familiar with these trucks because I've never owned one of this era. So something was there. Maybe could have been a vent or something like that. I'm not sure, to be honest. Over here we have what is a wiper switch, which looks to be replaced. This is a cigarette lighter. Obviously, that's not original. We have aftermarket ignition key. It does have a cool homemade Pentastar keychain. This is labeled defrost, so I guess that pull that out and it directs the air. There, that's a V. I think there's like a cowl vent right here. It's kind of stuck, but that's probably what opens that. This one says air, A for air, so I guess that opens another vent, maybe a floor vent. I'm not entirely sure. And there was something here, another cable, and there's a hole here. I'm not sure. There's a block off plate here. There's a lot going on here. I have to do a little more research to see what all these different knobs would have been and what all they did. Of course, we got to have an ashtray, and that's up here. Glove box. Glove box is missing the liner. Those are reproduced, so I'll probably get one of those. Actually, one of the only glove boxes I've ever opened on a vintage car that didn't have little indentions for drink cups. Yep. Of course, we do got sun visors, a rearview mirror, horn doesn't work there. I've tried it. Over here, we got our park and brake. Lift that up to engage it, and down to disengage. Of course, we got our high beam button there. Now, this is a manual transmission. It's a 4-speed. It is not original to this truck. We'll take a look under the hood, and we can talk more about that. Okay. Under the hood, we have a LA 318, which is not correct for this truck. Originally, this truck had a Poly 318. The original engine was apparently locked up, so the previous owner swapped in the entire engine and transmission out of a 74 Dodge pickup, I believe he said. You'll note that there's a block-off plate there, but that's because originally this truck had a hydraulic clutch. He made a homemade bracket to make this truck a manual clutch, which is very, very stiff. So I'm going to probably look into maybe making that back to hydraulic. He said he couldn't get the hydraulic clutch to move this clutch, so I have to look into that. And you can see it's got electronic ignition and stuff that's been, and there's the alternator and regulator that was added probably out of that 70s pickup. Got a serious homemade battery hold down there, and that's probably where there was a washer jug. This thing has windshield washers. You can see the squirters there. A lot of space under here. Going to definitely replace that. I don't have much luck with these, and they like to break and spew gas everywhere and cause fires, so that'll probably go away. Nothing wrong with this engine being in here. I'll probably leave it, to be honest. I'll just probably remedy the clutch issue. Looks like I put the 70s radiator in here as well. Still rocking the single pot master cylinder. I may convert that to a dual pot just for safety. A lot of space under here. You could put whatever kind of motor you want in this thing, honestly. Oh, and the heater there is disconnected. So maybe the core is bad. There would have been a hose. That's like a fresh air door, I guess. That it was like I've seen pictures of a hose that comes up through here, I guess, to get fresh air. I have to look that up, see where this hose actually goes. Maybe up to here. Yeah, there is 2 screw holes here, so I'm guessing there was like a little snorkel here that would let fresh air come into the cab. So I'm going to need one of those if anybody has one. Truck does need a little help. The choke doesn't seem to be working exactly right, things like that. But it does run and drive. See original chalk marks there. Yeah, I'll need a few things. This hood's got a split. I could probably weld that up. A lot of dents and dings. He said when he got this truck, it didn't have a bumper. I believe like the grill and stuff was missing. All the emblems were gone and lenses and stuff. These wheels are probably the wheels that were on that 70s Dodge pickup. They're not original to this truck. And I would like to find this original side view mirror there. That's missing. So yeah, if anybody's got a parts truck, let me know. I was going to mention that inside these trucks, you got a data plate, the VIN. That down here is a sticker that showed extra equipment, and part of it's missing. But you can see here that it has some special order equipment. So it's got front axle, rear axle, power brakes, something, I don't know what it says, and seatbelt anchors. Oh, this was windshield washer. Something, one word, I'm not sure. And then seatbelt anchors. So this had some special order equipment, which maybe confirms more of the fact that it's like a fleet vehicle. Because like especially with the seatbelts, seems back in the day they were the only people that had seatbelts in their vehicles. So yeah, that's probably what this was. Some kind of fleet vehicle. I could not find any information. There's no hidden paperwork, since there's no glove box. There's no stickers I could find anywhere. So I don't know what its original owner was. But yeah, I would like to find the original front seat and other things. So I'll be on the lookout for some parts trucks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short video on my recently acquired 64 Dodge Town Wagon. I'm going to be doing some more work on this truck in the future, so stay tuned for more videos as I do more things to this truck and kind of make it my style. It's already pretty close, but I just need to do the final touches, fix the leaks, address some of the mechanical issues and things like that, and just have this thing as a nice driver. So there's a lot of thoughts in the process of what I will do or won't do with this truck, and time will tell what I end up deciding to do. So thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my Instagram at Obsolete Automotive, and don't forget to check out my Patreon as well as my Facebook discussion group. I'll post links to those in the description. And again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.